So welcome everyone to another episode of Through the Magical Doors, where we are having transparent conversations with some really amazing women in the community who are doing some really good work that are bringing some really great value into our planet right now. And I would love to welcome Lisa Fox. Welcome, Lisa. It's so lovely to have you.
Thank you so much.
Lisa is actually a confidence coach for ambitious women in business, and she has been my wonderful coach and somebody that I just knew when I came across back in August. It was somebody that I wasn't looking for a coach at the time, but somebody I really needed to work with. And I am so happy that I got to do this. So I'm really happy to be having this conversation and with Lisa today. And going a little bit deeper into some stuff that I think would be great to share. So Lisa, we worked together during your 4-month mentorship, the Lair Academy, back started in August. And I want to kind of start, if you don't mind, kind of sharing a little bit about my experience at the time, what kind of clicked for me when I came across your retreat. Lisa runs a retreat every month or so, every couple of months perhaps.
Yeah.
And I ended up joining that retreat. And from the first time when she started sharing some information, and I think at the time, Lisa, you were talking a lot about desire, how we start with desire. And that hit on so many levels for me. That felt so important, but it wasn't just that, it was clear to me when I was attending the first of the retreat, the sense of clarity that you had, the alignment you were in. It really felt, as you were sharing, that you were coming from a place, not only from a place of understanding it on a mental level, it was something that felt really embodied, something that had kicked in and was really it was coming from a deeper place within you, right? Something that you understood on a heart level, on an energetic level, on a multi-level level. and like for me, one of the things I do is like I read energy. Energy is my thing. And the reason why it's become such a big thing for me was because I know that energy doesn't lie. People, we think we know the things we know. We lie to ourselves sometimes. We don't realize we're doing it, but energy doesn't lie. And I just felt like I was in the presence of a woman who walked her talk.
Yeah.
And I just started feeling all these tingles in my body. And by the second day, because I wasn't looking for a coach at the time, I was not looking for a coach because I felt like I was already in alignment and I felt I was doing my thing. But I knew that I came across somebody that I just was going to get so much more value. And through the 3 days, I was pen and paper taking notes, and it was stuff you were talking with such clarity. But it was just, as you were talking, I just felt like things were activating in me. Mm-hmm. And I just felt like, if this is happening on this three-day retreat, I wonder what will happen if I make this investment to go deeper with you.
Yeah.
I also wanted to say that, my business has increased significantly through the period of the 4 months. So I want to sort of put that out there. So we're in the presence of magic. Lisa Fox magic.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Maya. But like, there's no surprise, like when, for me, you saying that your business has increased significantly, when you do something, Samaya, you're all in. And you made that decision, and for somebody else it might have felt like an impulsive decision, but it was an aligned decision. And that's exactly, the people that do sign up, that's what it feels like for them. But you said there about connecting with that part of me that was really embodying what I was talking about.
Yes.
And we were talking about desire. The reason I think that is and has been so clear for me and so essential for me is because I spent years just before I started this business doing exactly what I was meant to do and what I really desired to do. I spent years before that not doing it, right? I spent years like, okay, I had a career as an actor, which I loved, but I also at the same time was running a performance arts school. And while I was doing that, there was always something slightly missing.
Mm,
And for me, I couldn't put my finger on what that was until the moment that I got pregnant with my son.
wow.
And when I was pregnant with him, I was like, oh, I know that I need to work with mothers. And I know that the work that I was doing with children in my performance arts school was building up their confidence. And I loved it, but I loved the confidence building part of it. But working with children, even though I loved working with children, wasn't fully aligned for me.
Yes.
And so that what clicked was, oh, my soul's purpose is actually to work with other mothers
Wow.
to build their confidence, and not just their confidence, but their faith as well.
Mm,
So that they could be the most aligned and have the most aligned success, and therefore make a shit ton of money as well.
mm,
Because as mothers, I think we become lionesses, and this is where my whole
absolutely.
brand comes from, like, and lionesses are not just nurturers, they
No.
are breadwinners, they are caretakers, they are hunters.
So in a way, it's kind of like this thing it's encouraging, and I'd love to talk a little bit about that because I think it's so important. As humans, sometimes we fulfill one aspect of ourselves, and as mothers, becoming mothers for so many women is such a huge thing. That in a way, then we can get a bit too comfortable and think like, oh, but surely can I? But this is great. Shall I desire more? Shall I want more? Shall I invite more? And just the
Mm.
fact that you're kind of really encouraging that and you're reminding us that, I think is so important. So how do we make that transition, and how, you recognize in yourself when you desire that a little bit more, right? That you love what you were doing, but there was more. What are the signs to look out for? And how do we start kind of normalizing and really paying attention to that part of us that says, but there's a little bit more than this.
Yeah. You know, this is why I created and I called my program the Lair Academy, because
Mhm.
it's that invitation to come into the lair. And in the lair, like lionesses in the lair are so in tune with their instincts, but particularly like whatever about like
I
that
love that.
instinct of nurturing and like taking care of the cubs and doing all that. But when a lioness sees her prey, she knows it, she feels it, she's activated by it, and she goes after it. Right? I
Mm.
just gave myself goosebumps saying
Yeah.
that, but it's so true. And
Yeah.
for me, like anytime that I've had that, like it's about actually connecting with your body on a very
Mm.
basic level, going, everything is amazing. Like it's not about not having gratitude for, like I had an amazing business. I had a six-figure business. It was and I really liked it, and I
Mm.
loved some aspects of it. But when I really recognized that desire
Yeah.
for something more, when I felt that tingling, when sometimes it can feel like jealousy.
Mm.
Sometimes,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you're not allowing it to activate. And for me, like I was in a particular, group of women online, in a Facebook group, and I could see all of the other women do it. Like there was such variation between what the women were doing in this group. But I found myself getting a little bit jealous of some of the women who were, being coaches and being, like and I've always known that when I start to feel jealous, it's gone. I've let a desire fester, you know. I've let
Mm.
a desire kind of start to go a little bit rotten, by not
Oh,
being
yeah.
activated by it. So and for me, like I stayed in that festering. I stayed in that like feeling of jealousy for a few years before I actually went, fuck it.
Yeah.
What can I lose here? What do I have to lose? I didn't walk away from my other business and start a new business.
No.
Like I don't know. Some people can do that. Some people are more risk averse than others. Some people are like, that's finished. I'm gonna light a match and blow it up,
Sure.
as I walk away. I'm not a person who's that risk averse, right? So
No.
what I started to do was I just started to tune into what I actually wanted. I started to
Yeah.
listen to those desires and I started to walk towards that. And then I started to, like go a little bit faster and a little bit faster. And so walking away from this successful business became much easier as I moved towards this
Yeah.
other business that really started to feel like, yeah, there's something more to this. And the more that I inspired others, empowered others, started to succeed myself in that business, the easier it was to just cut the tie.
And I love that you're sharing this, because it's also one of the things I remember you talked about from the beginning when I joined the Lair Academy. And I know there were already quite a few women in the group. You talked about divine timing. And I love that. I love that so much, because obviously there's this thing of like, there can be a whole process and a whole sort of timeline between that recognition that is acknowledged on one aspect of our body or our energy or our heart, right? Our emotional body. And then the sort of, just thinking about maybe in a way that's part of the divine timing
100%.
when more of you gets activated with that desire and you're giving it more and more permission and whatever it is in the external circumstances, because also as humans, we are linear, right? Like we need that sort of preparation.
Yeah.
So just kind of feeling like maybe in a way connects a little bit to that divine timing that you were talking about. The right time just really was when it happened, it happened.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. And so I am a person who rarely regrets anything, even like, what I might perceive as wasted time or, making the wrong decisions. It's because
I agree.
My main mantra has become, in the last 12 months particularly, everything happens in perfect timing for me, even when it doesn't seem to be, actually, especially when it doesn't seem to be. And it's one of the core things that I teach all of my clients, is to really see and provide evidence for yourself how things actually do happen in perfect timing. Because when you can live in that faith that even when things appear to be going wrong or things don't seem to be going as you had planned them to go, if you can provide evidence for yourself that things in the past have worked out perfectly even when they didn't, you put yourself in the receptive mode, right? You open yourself up to the possibilities, rather than saying, this couldn't have happened at a worse time, or I don't understand what's happening now, or I'm struggling with this, or if you can actually say everything happens in perfect timing for me. I don't always understand how everything works out, but it always ends up unfolding in the way that it should. I'm sorry,
it's
just
fine.
saying, my children are just going up the stairs.
Nice. We are moms in business, so yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
But I really love that, and it's this thing in a way, that kind of ability to be able to look at the evidence also takes that little bit of confidence and that kind of sense of like, okay, let's review this, let's see what's happened so far. But I really want to talk a little bit about these some of the things that you've really crystallized for me, and that I think you really embody so well, and that are so beneficial for the women you work with, right? Because for me, that even the group sessions as well as the private sessions, in a way, I felt like just sharing energetically with you. And even in this space now, I just feel like a ton of value coming my way. Like I feel like so much is coming from that interaction. And I think that here's what I noticed. I became very kind of like good at studying and understanding the sort of a little bit of those inner dynamics here, what was going on energetically. I think you're such a natural, you talk about connection.
Yeah.
I think you have a real natural ability to connect with people. That's something that I really got going. I got to receive beautifully from you as a learning more closely. That I think is partly what led me to have such a successful retreat back in December, like you really have a natural ability to connect with people, and in a way.
Sorry. So I just pause for a second, because my
So yes.
Okay. Yeah. So the connection. You said, so you were saying that sorry, I'll let you
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think you have a real natural ability to connect with people from a real place. I think you're kind of bringing a lot of authenticity. I didn't get much of the sort of coaching persona. You just bringing value in who you are and what you know, and just being that. So you're kind of really holding space for women to be authentically themselves, which is wonderful, especially as a mother, because you have a whole bunch of things going on, right? And just the ability to connect with people, make genuine connections and nurture those connections really beautifully. That's one of the things I noticed that was really valuable for me. And I think really led me to have such a kind of like, it was the biggest, the retreat, the most well-attended retreat. And I've really taken that on board and started really upping the value that I bring in the connections I make with my audience, with potential clients, and it's made a huge difference.
Huge and difference. Samaya, this is what I tell people all the time, because you're not the first person to say that, that I have that ability to really authentically connect with people, but we all do. We all have the ability, but I feel like when we learn how to be in business, we focus so much on the strategy, right? And we focus so much on the things that we're told we should be doing. But like, so much so that we forget to connect, and we forget that I'm a human and you're a human. And that is the most important gift that we have, but also the most important gift that we have to exchange between each other, whether I'm the coach and you're the client, or vice versa, or whether I'm trying to sell something to you or buy something from you, or neither. Do you know, like I recently had my birth chart done, and that's one thing that came up really strongly for me, was that I had that that ability to really connect, and that sort of, I suppose, emotional intelligence.
So interesting.
And it came up as one of my superpowers, but also one of my superpowers is teaching, right? So there's no surprise that I am so dedicated to teaching other people just how to reconnect, because it's something that I really truly believe we all have the ability to do.
Can I just say though that I agree, but I don't think that everyone knows how to use it. And I think it's often the very coming back to the basics, which I think I have to say that was another thing that was the missing puzzle for me, that it clicked for me. When I was on your retreat, you have the ability to explain things from a very grounded yet very expansive level, because it's, how they say often that it's the same, we want to come back to the basics, like there's so much information, there's so much out there, right? But actually the thing that really helps us create the growth is come back to what's going on right here, right now, and connect with ourselves on that very kind of like immediate level. So the trust that you have in both in yourself and other people, I think, really kind of facilitate, maybe to an extent, to really convey that information in a way that is just easy to deeply understand. And that's when I realized, what, I kind of sometimes bypass that level. I go into a little bit the next thing, not because it's like it's like what I do the best. It's like I just realized it was just that I was missing a step before, that I needed to come back to the basics a little bit more and really break things down for people more. Because otherwise I was giving them, letting them do too much work. So, and I got this really, it was the first time from working with a coach where I really understood this. I need to like break it down a lot more and make it a lot more accessible for people. And that really opened up a big door for me, Yeah.
And I think, to your credit, Samaya, that happens a lot, that I notice that happens a lot with highly intelligent people, right? Like yourself, where you forget that not everybody else has the same, training background. Like, it happens a lot with doctors. You notice that, right? Where doctors will talk to you and they'll explain something to you as if you also have that background that they have, and you're like, it's gobbledygook, So like, I think that that's so important, is to remember, like, when you're talking to people that they just don't have not everybody has your experience. And for me, I always prefer when somebody explains something to me as if I have no prior experience in it, because even if I do have prior experience and or training or education in that area, I still love things to be spoken about in really practical, real ways, because I always learn more in that way. It kind of opens up that really human side of me, that really that connects. It gives me the ability to connect dots together that I may not have connected if it was on that, explained on that higher level that I would need all that background in. Does that make sense?
It does. And I'm kind of curious in a way, because for me, a big thing about my business is kind of creating simplicity, keeping it as simple as possible. And I wonder, in order to grow, and I think it's really creating something, it's really helping. I can see the value of that. So I wonder, how much do you feel that capacity for women like myself and other women in business, mothers, and particularly mothers where we have so much going on? And obviously, I know it's your audience. How important do you think that sort of sense of coming back to basics and our ability to grasp and communicate those and have that principle of simplicity kind of lead us in our growth, in our success? How important do you find that being as part of the path to growth and success?
It is like the ultimate importance. Like, really, I think that we can only really grow when we fully accept that life is simple, business is simple, human beings are simple. We like, at our core, everything is actually very, very simple. And as you said so well there, when you become a mother, you suddenly have so much to hold and so much to remember and so many things to do and so many moving parts to keep together. And because as women, we have the ability to do that, right? A lot of men, not all men, but a lot of men don't have that ability to have that overview of all the moving parts and like to bear that mental load. And therefore we take it. But we also have to remember to let down that mental load sometimes. And I think that the key to that, Samaya, honestly, is allowing ourselves and giving ourselves permission to get the support that we need. Because that's the other thing that I think, even though women have this ability to bear the mental load,
so big, so important.
It doesn't mean that we have to do it all the time. It doesn't mean that we can't choose to, like, for example, me at the moment, I couldn't do this if my children weren't being taken care of by an au pair, right? And even with my children being taken care of by an au pair, we've already had an interruption, and like, that's fine, and that kind of distracts you for a minute, and because we're two capable women, we could just get right back down to business. It's fine. But at this point, I have totally accepted that I welcome, I value support. But let me tell you, like a few years ago, when I was really struggling to step into the desire to do more, to have a bigger business, to open myself up for more success, the main obstacle was, how can I do that and still be a good mother? Because I had this idea that's been given to me, thank you very much, by the patriarchy, like that, like I shouldn't need to have support, that I should be able to do it all, and I should be able to manage, I don't know, like all this bullshit. You know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
But that acceptance of the idea of support transformed everything for me, because I started small. I was like, okay, I'll get somebody to mind the kids at the time I only had one, but I'll get somebody to mind him a couple of hours a day, a couple of days a week. And when I did that, I was like, oh my goodness, this is what it feels like to be able to focus again for even just a couple of hours. And then I expanded that, and now I am totally happy with being in my business, 6 to 8 hours a day, and to have the people who I have chosen to help me,
Mm.
and support me and my husband. Like, it
Yeah.
just makes it all possible.
I love that you're talking about receiving help and being open, because in a way, to some extent, it's also like, in a way, the ability we have to ask and receive the help on the very pragmatic level in our lives, I think is another reflection of how open we are to the universe, right? To also
100%.
give us that support. And also just what you mentioned, that you started small. And let's just say, because obviously not everyone will be able to get that support on a longer term like on a big
No.
basis to start with, but how important that incremental shift is, and that actually maybe that's all we need to be doing, that to be focusing on
Absolutely.
incremental shifts and
Yep.
support where we can have it,
Mm.
and to kind of in a way notice where our limiting beliefs are as well, because like say I'm a single parent
Yeah.
by a co-parent, and I just chose not to use that as an excuse or as an obstacle for too long.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we said with his dad is like, right, we're not gonna suddenly just like let go of our dreams and our aspirations now that we're parents and
Yeah.
we're doing this kind of as a co-parenting situation. We're still going, we made a pact to each other. We're not going to give up on ourselves now that we are parents. We are going to just use it more as a way of going further towards what we desire to create.
Yeah.
But we kind of like, I've just hired a VA, for a few hours a week. I know when I kind of have even more money coming in, I can get a little bit more support. And that
Exactly.
already has felt so expansive for me.
Mm.
And it's this thing of like backing up ourselves, isn't it?
100%. But this is the thing. Yeah, exactly. It's getting behind yourself. It's literally just backing yourself up. And when you do it incrementally, like you said there, when you grasp that and you go, okay, I don't have to go all or nothing. I don't have to like suddenly hire somebody for 40 hours a week and explode my brain,
Yeah.
When you do it incrementally, what you find is that you really find your own sweet spot as to how
Yeah.
much you want, like how much work do I want to do, and how much support do I need to have in order to work that much. And for me, like, I definitely got to a point last year where I was like, so we had an au pair, and she was, my youngest child is a year and a half now. She's 18 months
Yeah.
old. So like this time last year, she was only 6 months old. And I was only working in my business, like, I think like maybe 3 hours a day.
And
3
can I
hours a
just say
day.
that you've been running a six-figure business, right? And
Yeah.
when did you hit your six figures? Was it in 2021 or 20?
Yeah. So no, 2020. So I started this business in 2021. So like
Yeah.
February, I started taking clients. By December, by the end of December, I had made approximately 115,000.
That's incredible. And
It
at that
is.
stage of like you becoming a mom for the second time, having your baby, that's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. And this is the big thing that I notice people saying, well, it's okay for her because she had the support, and it's okay for her because what XYZ, insert your own thing that you might be thinking right now. But remember that I started, like I say, with giving this business 2 to 3 hours per day,
Yeah.
max, in February. And it grew incrementally. And then as it grew incrementally, I got the support that I needed. And I definitely got to a point where I was like, now it's too much.
Mhm.
But
How do you handle that when you tell me how do you continue expanding when you reach that's too much? Because I kind of reached that in December, and I felt incredibly blessed to be on that level, to say that, in terms of having all this income of clients, right? But how do you handle, because I think that's such an important milestone, but also that opportunity for more expansion, right?
because
how did you go?
We want to, like, the reason we're doing this, a huge part of the reason we're doing this is to create wealth, right? So we want to grow to the next stage. And if you're at a point where you're like, okay, now it's too much, so how can I grow anymore? Yes, exactly. Like, it's such an important question. Like, okay, literally, how can I do this? And for me, it was about just like finding my own balance, right? Going, okay, this there's sometimes what I feel is a lie that people tell you, that like it, you know, it can be easy. Like, no, it can be easy, it can definitely be easy, but you have to find that ease, right?
Yeah.
And certainly between, like, you know, 0 and 6 figures within a year, there was a lot of work involved. There's a lot of moving parts. But I can now see, getting to this stage, that going from 6, because I've heard this before, but I couldn't wrap my mind around it. But going from 6 figures to 7 figures is actually kind of easier. You know why?
Yeah, I believe that, actually.
Yeah,
I really trust
support.
that. Yeah.
You've got some money. You've got a bit of fucking money, and now you can hire people to help you. But what's great, like for me, having done it the way that I did it, I know that doing everything myself first really helped me to understand what I needed, and really helped. So the things that when I, you know, hired people to support me. So I'm now at a stage, so I have the au pair, and she's been going for, you know, like 2 years now. And that's great, but that's just home support. Getting to the stage where I felt like, oh, it's too much now, I can't keep going like this. What the first thing that I offload, the first thing that I decide, okay, I'm not doing that part anymore, are the parts that I don't enjoy. So it's all about desire. What do I want to do?
Yeah.
Right? And from a law of attraction point of view, desire is the first step to manifesting anything. So if you're finding that there's certain things that you just don't want to be doing, it's time to get somebody else. When you've gotten to that stage where you've got a little bit of money behind you,
Yeah.
then you can go, okay, you know, I can start giving that to somebody else. And by the way, Samaya, what I'm really finding right now, as I'm hiring people to help me with the stuff that I don't want to do, I'm still, it's not comfortable, right?
No.
It's not
I
something.
so resonate with that.
Yeah.
What, the delegating bit is not comfortable?
Number one, the delegating part is not comfortable, because there's always a fear. They might not do it the way I want them to do it.
That's
right?
the thing.
So
Letting go of the
one.
control is a big thing for me.
Yeah. Number two, from like financially as well, even though the money is there, you're worried that maybe I'm investing in the wrong place. Maybe this is not going to be worth it. Maybe this person isn't going to work out. Maybe they're, you know, and so, like, you know, and it's that self-trust and that confidence to go, okay, I'm going to do as a good a job as I can of hiring the right person to support me in the way that I need to do. And then it's a leap of faith, right?
Yeah.
But then there's the confidence to fire the person if they're not working, you know? And I think that's how I've managed to kind of navigate that, is by going, okay, I've got the confidence to trust myself to hire the right person.
Yes.
But also to know that if it's the wrong person, I will fire them.
It's so important. And, you know, in a way, you're talking about, I like to call them leap of trust in some way, because I find trust has an interesting kind of, like, it's a bit more accountable in a way, but it's also like, I love what you're saying, because even in a way that aspect that you're talking about, that also is incremental, right? And that we're testing things out, we're seeing what it's like. It's not like the be of it all and end of it all, right? So there's still possibilities to change things and shift things around if they don't work, but yet it's like we invest and we made that you know, we show the universe and we show ourselves that we are ready for that change and we're ready for that support and we're calling it in.
100%. And Samaya, you talk about this all the time, and it's something that I'm learning, but trusting your intuition is huge in all of this, in helping you to navigate it.
I really think so.
I asked the question, so, to the lady who did my birth chart, because she said, you have fantastic intuition when it comes to other people, but you need to work on your intuition when it comes to yourself. And that really resonated with me. And I was like, well, how do you work on your intuition? How do you actually go about making your intuition better? And actually, the answer that she gave me just made so much sense. She was like, it's just about asking yourself, how does this feel? Like, how does this feel? And always checking in with your body about how things feel. So when I hired my housekeeper and my PA, it was very tricky triggering before I actually, as I was, writing the job spec for both. Actually, it was just one job spec. But as I was writing the job spec, I was like, oh God, oh Jesus. And all of the fears were coming up for me.
Yeah.
And as I was doing the interviews, I felt quite under pressure. However, when I met the girl that I ended up hiring as a PA, everything in my body relaxed. Everything went, oh yeah,
Nice.
Jesus, oh cry. I nearly wanted to cry with relief because I was like,
Oh,
she knows exactly what to do to organize me, you know? And so that I was like, oh, that was my intuition. Duh.
yeah,
You
there you
know?
go. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do believe that the relaxation that you talked about is a very important bit. And I think that I think because we haven't been necessarily taught to kind of do that, to connect with ourselves. I think it can, again, it's the thing that we talked about, coming back to basics, right? It can be so beneficial to start allowing us to trusting ourselves in that way. And one of the things that happened in the Lair Academy actually is you hold really beautiful space for me to come up with STIA. STIA is this model that I work with, which starts with energetic congruence. So not just our mind telling us, not just getting honest with our minds, right? But like, because sometimes it's our ego as well. It's seeing what our energy feels towards a situation, towards something, and that's what desiring as well. And it's energetic congruence, then creating sacred space and sacred boundaries so that we can harness that desire that comes up and that realization that comes from it. And it's this thing of like, it's so simple, yet we haven't been giving ourselves the time to do it, to just check with ourselves. And then seeing the results of this, what happens, and then seeing, oh, if it didn't get the result, then was it our mind talking? Was it our patterns talking? You know? So I think I love that you're talking about that, and that, you know, obviously you're now leveling even more through the space you're creating for your business to grow even more and give yourself that support. Can I ask you something here? Because I think it's important to say, do you feel that when we do make an investment of that nature, having a PA or some other investment that's going to give us some more support, do you feel that it will feel very clear to people 100%? And where do you feel like it's a leap of trust and faith? And where is it like actually that we need to make some work towards creating those conditions to say, yes, okay, I'll do this? And that could be not just for a PA, it could be towards a coach, because obviously stuff is coming up for people. How do we know that it's the right time for it?
Oh, that's such a good question.
Yeah.
It's such a good question. And I think, you know, like going with that theme of simplicity, like keeping it really simple, asking yourself, will this help to move me forward? Is it a green light or a red light?
Yeah.
You know, like when you think about doing it, sometimes it's the wrong time because you feel that anxiety or that panic or that like too many moving parts and too many questions where you're just like, I don't know. So the way I think you know whether it's a red light or a green light is just to slow everything down and like literally just tune in with yourself. And like, yeah, I do think that sometimes you have to take a leap of faith, right?
Yes.
But the leap of faith is never about like, you know, I think we always know, like, I think we always, like, in our heart, I actually think we always know whether the decision is right for us or not.
Yeah.
But
I think
I also really feel like in life and in business, one of the most important skills that we can have is decision making, like just the ability to make a decision, right? And of course, like in order to make quick decisions, like you do need a certain level of confidence. And I do believe, obviously I wouldn't be doing the work that I'm doing, I believe that confidence is a skill. You know, it's not something that some people have and some people don't have.
I agree.
Right. And it's something that we can harness. And if you can get really, really confident, and if you can by effect then get really good at making decisions, you will have success, because you'll start to know that no matter what decision you make, there are right decisions, there are wrong decisions, but most decisions, I would say 99.99999% of decisions, are never something that you can't come back from. Now, I'm not saying like if you make the wrong decision and make an investment in the wrong place, it's not that, I'm not saying that you get your investment back and you go back in time or anything like that, but I choose to believe that every investment that I make is the right investment, because I either learn what I need to learn from the investment or from making the mistake in the investment, right? And I think that's why it's so important to like stop thinking about decisions like being like this all or nothing thing. It's like, okay, I feel like this is the right decision. I'm going to trust myself and trust that, like, one of my favorite models is and it comes from, I can't remember who it comes from, but I'll either earn or I'll learn. Right?
Yeah, nice.
So it'll bring me to the next level, or I'll learn what I need to learn to help me get to the next level in a different way.
Or sometimes also that what you end up learning is just different to what you expected. But
exactly.
And it's this thing of openness. Like I've worked with coaches and I got something very different to what I expected. And it was like, but it was learning and it was growth. So in a way, we need to be able to understand how value is, we need to be able to recognize value and to be open to how it's going to show up. And what we're going to get from it, because our ego or our mind alone might just have a much more like of a smaller perspective on it, or a box perspective, or it could be just a control tendencies kind of taking over, and
I will say this, Samaya, before, there's this thing that, like, somebody said, and it's so true, like for every good hire you make 2 bad hires, right? So but like knowing that that's a statistic, right? I think that's really helpful to know, because it's like there's nothing wrong with me. It's not that I'm shit at hiring people, it's just that it's a process, right? And I think the same is true for investments. Like, not that, I don't mean the statistical part of it, I don't know how you would break that down, but like I know that on my journey to where I am now, I've invested in like VAs, I've invested in different courses and programs, and definitely, like I can count, like off the top of my head, at least 10 to 15,000 euro of investment that I didn't get what I thought I was going to get from it, or that I could easily tell myself I was wrong for investing in that was a bad investment, that was a bad decision. But I think we really need to watch the things that we're saying to ourselves, because if you tell yourself something like that, you're less likely to have the courage to invest again in the right things. You're less likely to actually like glean the important information from that learning curve that you had, than if you had told yourself, you know what, this is all part of the process. And so for me now, I know that, like, I've invested maybe 20,000 total, but like having had a 6-figure year and knowing that all of that investment, every part of it, the right ones and the wrong ones, are leading me to my 7-figure self, I'm all good with that.
And I think this is why I think energetically you are showing up. I think that's one of the things I've written down actually here, which is like, there is this energy of trust that you embody. And I think also there's this energy, which is one of the manifestation tools that I've been teaching in Energetic Money Mastery, this thing of you expecting is coming. It's coming, it's growing, it's building. And I think this is the important thing that also the entrepreneurial journey is teaching us so well. We need to have the capacity to grow that capacity and that muscle of becoming robust enough to handle those things when they go well, to celebrate them. No kind of like get lost in it so much that you stop growing, then, get comfortable with the stage, then move on to your next, but equally when things don't quite pan out the way we want them to, we need to be able to learn to sort of grieve and let it go, or acknowledge and let go. And we need to be able to recycle this. And that's a skill that's going to be so needed, because it's how we're going to grow, and we need to be able to sort of process it so that we can continue growing. If we get stuck, then that's path is probably going to be very hard for people, right? We need to be able to recycle. We need to be able to just keep on moving in the direction of growth and kind of consistently like creating and nurturing that mindset of, yeah, but you know, it's moving in this direction anyway, and harnessing the possibilities that are coming, the good possibilities, rather than getting stuck. And I think that's a life skill, not just in business, but in everything.
It's something that I want my kids to learn, you know. And like you articulated that so well. We really get stuck sometimes in either the success or the failure, because we're making it not a journey. Then it's like that you like if the success, if every success makes us stop, right? I think it's so important to celebrate,
I agree,
success, but it's like it's an acknowledgement of the success, and it's like it's also what can propel you to the next thing. But it's not the be all and the end all. It can't be so much of an event that the success in itself burns us out and makes us feel like, okay, I'm finished now. You know, it's like it's just another step. It's just another step in the journey. But equally, if we load every failure that we have as bricks on our back that we have to carry around, then we're going to get stuck, right? Whereas if we actually lay down those blocks, if we go, okay, there's another failure, there's another failure, there's another failure, suddenly we've got a set of stairs, right, that we can walk on to lead us towards success. And
you know, the thing about having a bit of fun in the process, because if you just always have the eyes on the prize and forget to enjoy the process, and I think this is what happened for me this year. I fell in love with my business because I started having fun with it, and I started enjoying just doing what I did, you know. And I felt like if I've seen women who reached, like, it was in one group says, I've reached $500,000 this year, and why am I feeling so empty and hating what I'm doing? And it was like, you know, and I just felt like it's so sad to feel that, you know, we get so gung-ho on just the destination, where we forget and we bypass the journey and us enjoying some of it and having those incremental changes that we talked about, investing in good coaches, having the support, getting comfortable with all the shifts we are making, and then growing from there. I think it's so important, isn't it? To kind of like smell the roses.
Oh, exactly. That's it. And you know, it's about like I think because like the journey part of it has become a thing that people say, and almost like a cliche. Well, I suppose it is a cliche, but if we can reconnect with that journey, then we're on the pig's back. Like we are on the way. And that journey it's the celebrating. It's the celebrating the successes, acknowledging the failures, and allowing the failures not to mean anything about whether or not we're ultimately going to succeed or not.
Absolutely. It's not a reflection of you. It's just part of the journey. And in a way, that's how we become robust as well, right? Like we kind of have to stop taking everything too personally every step of the way. Lisa, I've really been enjoying this conversation, and you know, I hope that maybe in the future we can have another one. I want to ask, I know you have a retreat coming on. I'd love to ask you how people can connect with you.
So
and get more of a, you know, like obviously you talked about confidence, and I wanted to ask you, like, I realized, no, if people really want to be growing more of the confidence, I think it would be really wonderful to connect with you more through your group, where you offer a ton of value, where you also do your retreats. So could you tell us more about it?
I will, of course. So before I even tell you about the retreat, like, you know, the reason I do this work is because one of my core beliefs and one of my knowings is that confidence is the most important factor when it comes to success. Confidence and faith. And that's my formula. Confidence plus faith equals success every single time. So that's what I teach about. And I have a free retreat next week, and it's for mothers in business. So my Facebook group is called Money Manifesting Moms. And I just hold my retreat in there. It's live into the Facebook group, and it's going to be next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, 24th, 25th, 26th, at 1 p.m. each day, and each session is an hour long. The name of the retreat itself is Money Manifesting Moms: Unstoppable Confidence for Clients and Cash.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So, and as I say, like, I'm just dedicated to helping mothers, like, just like have the best confidence they can have, because we get so fixated on competence, right? We get so fixated on, like, we need to know how to do all the things, and we need to know all the strategies, and we get fixated on the doing, but it's really more about the being, you know?
Yeah. And we're trying to kind of overcompensate with all those things, you know, and it's the thing I was saying about effort. Effort is important. However, we cannot overcompensate with effort in exchange, like where we're not bringing the alignment in, you know, there has to be a bit of both. So I love that you're sharing this. And what's the name of your group?
The group is Money Manifesting Moms.
Wonderful. I'm going to leave a link for people below as well. Yeah. So, and the retreat, which days is it taking place?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the 24th, 25th, 26th of January.
Lovely. That's great. So that's really wonderful. So I'm really pleased that you shared that. And I wanted to ask you before we go, thank you for taking obviously the time to speak with me today. I feel really like I would love to do more of this, and maybe we can have another chance, you know, months down the line, if you would like to.
Me too. Yeah, I would love to.
Because I feel there's more we can talk about. Can you share with me how I like to end this is to hear about people? I'm a little bit nosy, and I like knowing about how other women in business, it could be a lifestyle tip, something that you really love doing. I know some women are into, like, they have a bit of a meditation here and there. For others, it can be something that feels more like a guilty pleasure. Some other people could be like, it doesn't have to be a routine, but it could be something that you enjoy, that you feel brings value to you as a woman in business, as an ambitious woman growing your business, anything really. Is there something that you can think of that you would love to share with our audience that they might benefit from?
I think, like, for me, Samaya, it's about, and any of the advice that I would give to any woman is, like, really remember the things that you actually fucking like doing, because we forget. Like, I at one point, like a couple of years ago, if you had asked me what do I enjoy, I would have been like, work, you know. And I, like, you know, I enjoyed spending time with my son as well, but it's like, what do you just want to do for yourself? And for me, my happy place is my bath. Like, if I could have a bath every day,
with you on that one,
I would be in it. I don't have the time to have a bath every day, or I don't make time for a bath every day, maybe is a better response. But the bath, like, is a non-negotiable for me once a week, right? The other thing that I've started to reconnect, and now that I'm like, you know, bringing more support into my business, I absolutely I'm making it a non-negotiable that I start running again.
Oh, wow.
Because, Samaya, I love running, and I haven't ran since I was pregnant with Nina, so in like 2.5 years.
Wow.
And I was running maybe 8K like 3-4 times a week, and because I had a particular route that I did, and so I live beside the sea, and I run to the sea, and then I just run along the sea, you know, along the seafront, for as long as I can, and it is it's a meditation for me, as well as exercise and complete me time. And I often would either, as I say, just be running, or I will listen to self-development books in my ears as I'm running. And it's really my happy place, but it's just for me. It's just for me. Yeah.
I love those. I love those so much. Maybe not so much the running. You would have to pay me to run. But I love that you have this ritual that is you love. Like, I love lifting weights, for instance, and the bus, I 100% resonate, actually. And I agree that, you know, sometimes we can get a bit gung-ho about, well, we love working, we love our business, we're growing this, so that's my thing. But so important to have focus on other things outside of it as well that can actually add more value to our working rituals anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, you got
Um,
like your business will always improve when you do some things outside of your business for yourself,
yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
And like what you know, like even though our businesses are for ourselves, they're we share our businesses with our clients. We're like, well, if you're in this kind of business that we're in, it's really you're holding space for other people
Yeah,
constantly. And even though that's your passion and what you're here for, it can be very tempting, like, you know, to like for me, because I'm working from home, I think for you the same.
yeah.
So tempting to just go downstairs and then you're straight into family life. And that's again, there's nothing that's just for you in that. So, and it's not like I don't have time just for me, you know, like, okay, no, I do have time just for me every single day, but I don't have a lot of time for me every single day. But it's important to make sure that
Create
that
that sacred
happens.
space for it. Yeah, like
Yeah,
having
yeah,
that ritual. It sounds
yeah,
lovely, actually. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you for being in this space with me and sharing. It's the first time we connect since the Lair Academy,
yeah,
and you've been such a gift for me. I've learned so much, and I feel like the benefits of that. I'm still reaping the rewards of this and the benefits of this. So I would love to, say to women who are in business, who are mothers, I would really recommend connecting with you in the group, because it's a lot of free value there. And I know you do
yeah,
a weekly video, and you share things there, and I think really beneficial masterclasses and stuff. So
yeah,
I would really like to urge women to connect with you in that way.
yeah.
And I want to wish you a really fantastic 2022, because I know you are, like growing even more and making those investments in yourself. So I'm super excited to see all that's kind of unfolding for both of us.
Yeah.
Wishing you a
I
really
was just
wonderful.
I was gonna say, so Maya, you know, like we rise together.
We
And
do.
we really, really do. And I just, you know, I think you're a wonderful woman. And I want to see your journey. Like you know, I feel like when somebody's been a client, they'll always
Hmm.
be a client, you know.
Yeah, I feel
And
the
I'll
same.
yeah, and I'll always have your back, and I'll always be watching you and cheering you on, and just a big, big, massive fan of your work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And have a really beautiful day, everyone. Thank you so much for watching.